kind of interesting to me as someone who sees and gets quite a lot of questions about stuff and suggestions about things that I should try. One of the things that I think that sort of been forgotten over the last couple of years, so it came out in March 2022, so it's been out a couple of years and a bit. The Boss GX100 I think is sneakily underrated and is maybe a product that would suit quite a lot of folks, and is actually more affordable than you might expect for what it can do. Kind of beats off the HX Stomp, the Podgo, in quite a lot of ways. Certainly to be able to do dual amping on here, the Podgo can't do that. The amount of simultaneous effects, I think it beats both the HX Stomp and Podgo as well. There's some things holding it back, but I just wanted to kind of do a little video on the GX100 today.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
I've done a few sponsored videos for Boss on the GX100. This one is not, but they did send me this one to do some videos back along, and yeah, they did an update to the firmware, which was a big deal because they brought 3 new amps, some new effects and stuff like that. And I think that's indicative of Boss kind of trying to change things up a bit. Maybe that's like recognizing that, like we've seen from pretty much every other modeling company, actually updating your firmwares and updating the products keeps people actually talking about your products. You know, like the GT1000, GT1000 Core are perfectly capable units, but there's not really any news to cover around them, and so knobheads like me can't make videos about a Boss GT1000 Core repeatedly if they're not kind of doing things to update these pieces of kit. And that is the thing that this kind of Kemper paid upgrade thing kind of reinforced, to me at least, was that this is a way of companies actually getting a little bit of free PR. Of course, it actually does take money and resources to develop this firmware stuff, but you can kind of look at it in some ways as like investing in the marketing of the product, I think, and in extending the product life cycle. As it is, if you don't do that, the life cycle of these products is quite short when other companies are making these steady improvements. So, yeah, the GX100, I think it does everything pretty well. There are some things that are maybe missing, like labels specifically for things that might have like Dumble connotations. There's a lot of effects in here. We know that Boss are really very good at effects. From drives, of course, so you've got like the stuff that is in the OD200 and bits and pieces like that, to delays. Obviously, we know Boss can make some killer delays, like industry standard delays. Reverbs in there are functional and decent. There's some weird and wonderful effects that are possibly not as useful for me personally, but it's got a lot of stuff in here. One area that is, I think, needing a little bit of more attention might be the amp section, which is still kind of small, relatively pared back. There is one aspect of each of these amps which is quite cool, which there is a gain switch, so you can have it in like low gain mode, mid gain mode, or high gain mode. So each of the amps has that switch, so even if it is supposed to be based on like a Vox AC30 or something like that, you can switch between these three modes, and if it was a high gain amp, for example, you could turn it down to some lower gain modes, and it's quite cool and quite flexible in that way. But I think that is the biggest blind spot of the GX100. However, versus something like the Podgo or the HX Stomp, so the Podgo can't do dual amping and has like a fixed signal chain. The HX Stomp has a free signal chain, and you can do an amount of dual amping, but you kind of get limited by DSP, and you've got 8 blocks. The DSP in this is kind of free flowing, so you can do what you like with it, and you're able to add 2 amps in parallel and quite a few effects as well.
So here we look, 2 drives, 2 amps, a noise suppressor, graphic EQ, a dual delay, vibrato, trem and reverb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks, something like that. Depending on what the blocks are, of course, you might be able to get in some extra stuff. Anyway, is that like fully loaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, something like 10 or 11 blocks, plus, you know, you're using dual amps there. Pretty full on.
And let me know your thoughts on kind of the tones from the GX100. I've never actually gigged this, but maybe that's something I should work towards. I don't have too many gigs left for the end of the year, but one of the things, I do think it's got quite a full low end to them. And the other thing that you get with Boss is that the hardware, I think, is second to none, really. It's like, just does the thing really well and solidly made. Is the kind of, you know, positive feeling knobs and switches. It's got a quality look to it and a quality feel to it, you know, weighty, and it's got the fastest latency response. The GT1000, GT1000 core and GX100 of all the modelers, basically. I think they use 32-bit processing and faster chips, presumably because Boss and Roland have buying access to big chunks of stuff. They can end up using like this low latency hardware relative to some of the other companies. What would stop you from checking one out, or what has made you think, I should check one out? Or have you had one and hated it? The UI, I think, is okay. It's got this touch screen. It's not super responsive, but it's alright. That's kind of my thoughts on it. The touchscreen doesn't really sell it to me. What did sell the GX100 was that you got away from the semi-fixed signal chain of the Boss GT1000, GT1000 core, so you can literally just put in whatever you want in here to your heart's content. So that's kind of cool for me. And I think it's, yeah, to me, the best UI that Boss have done to date, which kind of feels closer to the future, even if it is this kind of rudimentary, like, hexagon block thing. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you in another video soon. I was using the Silverface amp for the intro, I think. Let me know if you want me to drop that preset into my GX100 folder. Cheers for stopping by.